I'm in the mood for some more Brother Rob, so here's some more Brother Rob.
Alright.
Alright, Brother Rob, how have you been?
Unfortunately, the last video I made didn't end up recording because I closed my computer before I
Had a chance to clear the boogers off the webcam?
hit the stop record button. Anyways.
Oh, before that, okay. Well, that's a real shame, actually, because I gotta say, every one of your videos is a masterpiece. The fact that I'll never see that one actually makes me a little bit sad. I'm a big fan these days, I don't know if you can tell.
So for this video, I want to talk about...
Ah, right, I should tell you what he's gonna talk about. So this video is called Atheism is Still Absurd. So he's gonna talk about the same thing he always talks about, which is atheism is dumb. I barely even need to say that, that's just kind of Brother Rob's genre.
So for this video, I want to talk about some of the problems with atheism.
You see, I told you so.
And...
Man, you just made me yawn. Listen, if you're feeling sleepy, grab a coffee, I can come back later.
Sorry?
I'm sorry, I can't accept your apology. You always make your videos when you're sleepy or snotty or in some other unprofessional state. I was willing to look past it the first two times, but it's becoming a trend.
Excuse me. So...
No, I shan't. I just told you.
I honestly don't believe whatsoever that atheists have really thought through the philosophical and ethical implications of the absurdities.
Absurdities?
Absurdities.
Absurdities. Okay. In that case, I think you misspelled the title. It should say Atheism is Still Absurd.
Scientific possibilities and logical fallacies of their own philosophical worldview.
Okay, so what kind of absurdities and impossibilities and whatnotities does it have? I would actually like to know. I feel like that's important information. It's okay, take your time.
And, and I was just asked by Jeffrey Lauder yesterday to give a logical defense and response as to why I think atheism is philosophically inept.
Cool, I have no idea who that is. So what did you say?
And I just told him, yeah, sure, no problem. I said, you can't know it for certain.
Okay, what does that have to do with anything?
You can't verify it and you can't prove it. Therefore...
Wait, you can't verify what exactly? Again? What kind of atheism are we talking about here? Just the I believe there's no God kind? Yeah, well obviously you're a God guy, so it makes perfect sense you would think there's no good reason to think that. I don't think I'll try to disabuse you of that here, not least because you seem barely awake. I don't see a lot of need to have a serious discussion with someone who seems about to nod off.
You can't trust it for a source of knowledge or epistemology.
A source of knowledge? Why would I treat atheism as a source of knowledge? Knowledge about what? Saying, yeah, that one answer over there, I think that one's probably not right. It doesn't really seem right. It doesn't tell me anything. Why do you think I'm trying to use this to gain knowledge? I do other stuff to gain knowledge. Atheism has nothing to do with it. Is that a snot pull or a spit pull? If the former, please blow your nose on the back of your hand. Let's get some of that stuff out of there so it doesn't mess up the audio the whole time.
And it's also anti-science because you can't get everything from nothing and life from non-life.
Strong disagree on at least that second claim about life from non-life, but what does this have to do with atheism as such? Now you're dragging in other stuff and trying to glom it onto atheism like it belongs there. All these kind of things are separate issues. Atheism doesn't have these positive claims. It's intrinsically negative. It's either I don't believe that thing or I believe not that thing. You're trying to talk about multiple different things with one word, as if you're talking about a religion or something where it's all kinds of different beliefs put together into one overarching thing. But that's just not what you're dealing with. Now, I can understand some of the confusion, of course, because all of these ideas kind of get swept up into the big tornado of this discussion, and it can be hard for people who haven't really been paying attention to separate out what's actually relevant to specifically the atheism topic and what's not. But you've been making videos for a while now, so I think it's time for you to get a grip on that.
So that's how I answered Jeff, and in a nutshell, that's that's what it is, right? So
no, nutshell or no nutshell, that's not what it is.
And I've talked at length here and there about the problems of the epistemology of atheism. Again, you can't prove it, so you can't trust it as a source of knowledge or epistemology.
Didn't you just say that? Didn't we just go over that? Am I hallucinating? Is this even real? Am I even here? Are you even here? Are you in my imagination? Oh god, I hope not. That'd mean my imagination can come up with something like this.
The moral problem, of course, it's a subjective worldview, so you can't say anything is moral or immoral. Everything is just a matter of your preference.
Okay, so if morality means something accords with your moral preference, then if you say it's moral or immoral, what you mean is this accords well or not well with my moral preference, which is a matter of objective fact. So of course you can say it. You can say it and be correct, just not in the way that you find personally satisfying, in a way that's not to your preference. You want the entire world to be subject to your morality baked into the universe, and for the moral ideas of everyone else in the world to be secondary to yours, at best, or worthless and unworthy of any consideration at all, at worst. Well, go cry in the corner about it, because nobody cares.
Now, of course, practically it's impossible to live out, because you can't live like morality isn't true or objective in any meaningful way without losing your mind.
And by objective, you of course mean true as a matter of fact in the way that some fact of physics is true about reality. And apparently you have to live as if you believe that absurdity, or you lose your mind. Why? How? Where is this coming from? Why would acknowledging that morality reflects the priorities and expectations of human beings, and living in accordance with that fact, make you go insane? How does this follow? What is the argument for this? Is there one? Ah, good. You finally wiped your snot all over your hand. We'll see if that helps the sound situation. By the way, this thing about losing your mind, which one of us has made multiple videos publicly wiping his nose all over his knuckle? Do you think that's an indicator of greater or lesser sanity?
And you can know that for sure because Friedrich Nietzsche, the late famous atheist philosopher.
Okay, if you're about to make an argument like Nietzsche believed in subjective morality and tried to live it out, and he went insane, and therefore you go insane if you believe moralities from people, please realize in advance that that is a terrible, terrible argument on several levels, not least of which is the reduction of the cause of all of Nietzsche's personal problems to he believed in subjective morality. But more importantly, the fact that you're taking one man's personal issues and trying to expand that onto everyone who holds a particular philosophical position. It's ambitious in its sheer blatant fallaciousness, I'll give you that much. Okay, go ahead and make your argument now, be my guest.
Try to live out the moral implications of a subjective worldview, but here's the thing. If you are going to try to live...
Wait. You didn't make the argument. You're just going to mutter a few words like, yeah, Nietzsche tried it, and then move on without saying anything else about it, without actually bringing it to any sort of a point? Well, okay, don't make your point. Be my guest.
If you are going to try to live out a subjective worldview, you're trying to approach that objectively, which of course is a self-defeating proposition altogether.
What, like you believe that each person objectively has their own subjective moral ideas that you're going to have to deal with? How is that self-defeating? That seems incredibly simple to implement.
So you're either going to have to say that you're going to have to try to import that it's objectively subjective, which again is a self-defeating circular argument.
Objectively, it is subjective. That's the objective truth of the matter. If something is subjective, it's objectively so. Otherwise, it's not subjective. That's not some inconsistency I have to deal with. It's a requirement for something to be subjective at all. So again, how is this self-defeating? Also, how is it circular? Where's the circle?
Or you're going to have to say that it is objective. And by what standard, because your own philosophical position is subjective.
Okay, so the standard is any given person's standard, or even maybe a hypothetical standard not held by any particular person, and actions which are relevant to that moral standard will be objectively moral or immoral according to that standard. Whether the standard itself is a subjective preference or an objective truth is completely irrelevant. If there's a standard of any kind, then we can evaluate how well something lines up to that standard. Feet and inches are not some objective reality handed down from God. That's a way in which we can choose to measure distance. It's not objectively true that these are the right units to use. There are no objectively right units to use. And yet, if you're building a deck, you can objectively check the length of the pieces that you're cutting against a tape measure, and it's very much an objective fact whether that piece lines up better to the 10-foot mark or the 12-foot mark. What is the confusion? There's no reason for you to be confused about this.
Either way, it's self-defeating circular reasoning.
How? You've said nothing to establish that it's self-defeating, let alone to establish that it's circular.
So,
Take your time. The less you talk, that's the less I have to listen to.
And that's what atheism is. It's just a circular argument from top to bottom, and it just doesn't work.
Ah, now you wiped your nose on the inside knuckle. You're getting that hand well coated today. If we ever meet in person for some reason, remind me to tell you I have COVID or something so I don't have to shake your hand.
So,
What now, buddy?
And circular reasoning doesn't necessarily mean it's fallacious.
If you say so. I can't really think of a situation where it wouldn't be.
But in atheism, of course.
Ow. Those cracks and pops in my ears.
It's absolutely fallacious.
Okay, are you just going to say that again, or are you going to actually argue for it this time?
Now, of course, atheists could try to play bait and switch and say, well, Rob, you can't know that God exists.
Okay, so you're not going to try to argue for it then? The circular reasoning fallacy thing? Okay, well, move on to whatever it is you're talking about now. Be my guest.
Well, actually, yeah, I can. Because it's logical, first of all. Because there's too much order and design in the...
Oh, here we go. Do you ever have days where you really wish you could just lie down on the couch all day and do nothing instead of whatever dumb bullshit you have to do that day? Just a thought, forget it.
World to not think that God exists. And secondly, I can know God exists on a personal level. So I don't just know that God exists as a fact of life, but I know that God exists as on a personal experience level.
Really? That's fascinating. What's the experience? Did you have a flat tire and then you prayed and then eventually someone came along and helped you? Did you have a dream? Did you drink a bit too much in college and then eventually you cut it out? Come on, out with it.
So, and God can be known.
Okay, so how do you know him? What is the experience? I'm curious. You're not going to satisfy my curiosity, are you?
Now you might think, well, how can an immaterial being be known? But
no, not specifically. I just want to know what your story is. I'm sure it's really great and compelling.
He is.
Okay, so tell me something about that, because I think it's pretty clear that at the moment I don't think you know anything about this. I think you know all kinds of things, but what you think you know doesn't have a whole lot of bearing on what you know. But even if you do know, that doesn't mean I have any reason to think you know, so help me out here, Brother Rob. Save my soul, or whatever.
He's knowable.
Okay, nuh-uh. Is that good enough here? I think that's good enough here, eh?
I can't see him, I can't touch him like I'm touching my face now.
Thank you for touching your face with your non-snot hand, at least.
But I still experience him in the way I experience life.
Life, I mean, come on, life.
And, yeah, I mean...
Yeah, I know what you mean, man. Yeah. I don't know what you mean. Sorry. I lied.
Now you might say, well, you're just making that up, and that's a subjective claim, and, well, it is subjective.
Oh, yeah? Are you saying objectively that it's subjective? Well, that's a self-defeating circular argument. I'm reliably informed.
Well, it is subjective, but I'm not making it up.
Oh, so you're saying that you objectively have a subjective experience? Is that what you're saying? Well, that's a self-defeating circular argument. Again.
And the thing is, everybody knows God exists. Remember, the Bible talks about this too, and that people who deny the existence of God are simply lying to themselves.
Yeah, which makes it pretty hard to take the Bible seriously as the divine word of the all-knowing God, doesn't it? When it says things about your own state of mind that you know for a fact are false. This is actually one of my favorite apologetics because it provides a very strong reason not to take the religion seriously. So, be my guest. Why do I keep saying that? What's wrong with my brain? Am I dying?
When Gary and I on Fort Worth Crosstalk kind of talk about this too, is that atheism is basically setting you up for saying things you know aren't true.
If you say so. What else can I say to that? If you say you don't believe me, you're just lying. Okay, well, I might as well not try to rebut that because the entire discussion's pointless then, isn't it?
You know God exists.
I hate to break it to you, but no.
Everybody knows God exists.
Cool. Still no, though.
The problem isn't here. The problem is here.
Chafed nipples?
Your denial of God doesn't have to do with an intellectual pursuit, but a moral dilemma.
No, your arguments just really suck badly, and so I don't believe you. Look, I know you're trying to find a way to cope with that right now, but it's kind of hard to watch. Can you do this in private? It's making me cringe so hard I'm going to break a tooth. Or I would if I had a mouth. I wish I remembered where I put that thing. It's been lost for like a dozen years.
It's not, again, I'll say it again.
Could you not?
Atheism is not an intellectual pursuit. It's a moral dilemma.
You're just not going to let me not ask the question, are you? Okay, Brother Rob. What's the moral dilemma, Brother Rob?
You don't want to bow to God's standard for human sexuality.
Sexuality? Where'd that come from? That is way out of the blue. But regardless, Brother Rob, that's not a dilemma. Do you not know what a dilemma is?
I mean, that's always what atheism has always really been about. It's just you don't want it in a standard other than your own.
About sexuality, apparently. I find Brother Rob's videos hilarious in a way. That's why I keep wanting to do them, and yet at the same time I find them incredibly difficult to get through. Whenever I choose to do Brother Rob, it's a weird feeling. No, Rob, not a sexual one. Not everything in life is about sex, okay?
And that's okay. I mean, you're free to do that, but...
Am I, though? Aren't I going to get tossed into hell for it or something? You're that kind of guy, right? You're into all that hell stuff, I think? You seem like you must be. For all I know, we might have talked about it before. I think I've pushed our previous videos out of my mind already. Space is at a premium in there, and those are not premium quality videos.
At least let's start being honest about it, right?
That's what I'm trying to be, Rob, but whenever I tell you what I actually think, you tell me no, you actually think this other thing that I made up for you. I don't find it especially helpful or especially honest, but it doesn't seem like you actually care that much. You say you're interested in honesty, but come on.
The atheism has...
Oh, there it was again, nose wipe with a finger, this time from your other hand. So both of your hands are contaminated with snot. Look, I hope you wash your hands after making your videos, because this is gross.
The atheism has more to do with your sexual preferences than it does with your intellectual pursuit of knowledge.
I don't know why you've suddenly switched onto this idea that it's all about sex. It's very random. But I have trouble focusing on that when in the very next clip we're about to watch, you wipe your nose with your thumb. Repeatedly. And then show it to the camera. And smear it between your fingers.
I'm not saying all atheists, but I'm saying a lot, if not the overwhelming majority of atheists.
Brother Rob, I don't know what weird sexual shenanigans you think I get up to, but I bet whatever I actually do doesn't compare to what you've done in this video in terms of grossness. Frankly, I'm not about to take advice on behavioral propriety from someone who does this kind of stuff on camera and then publishes it. What is this, some kind of a weird kink for you? You know, Rob, if you're not interested in making your video, I can just come back later.
Reject God for moral reasons, not intellectual ones.
Yeah. Any excuse you can come up with to tell yourself that people who disagree with you don't exist, huh? Between that and the snot-soaked hands, this has got to be one of the more ridiculous videos I've ever watched.
Or personal reasons. Or both.
Wait, wouldn't moral reasons be a subset of personal reasons? Whatever, who cares?
So I think most people reject God for personal reasons, or moral reasons, or both.
Yes, Rob, I don't know if you remember, but you told me already. It wasn't all that long ago, but it might be longer than your memory span.
But no one rejects God, truly, because of intellectual issues.
Okay, Rob, thank you for the bald assertion about my interior mental state. I will take this under consideration. Is there anything else you want to add?
Alright, that's it for now.
Thank you, God, for answering my prayers.
Hey, Logicked, this is your brain. I think you just said that out loud.
Oh, fuck, I said that out loud?
Yeah, you said that out loud.
Oh, no. Oh, shit. Oh, I blew the lid off the whole thing.
Peace out, Brother Rob.
Peace out, Brother Rob. I gotta go. Bye.